Welcome to the Rise and Shine podcast, brought to you by the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. I'm your host, Jeff Abramowitz, and for the next 5 days, we'll be celebrating Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. The Rise and Shine podcast will bring together national, state, and local leaders who are driving change in adult education. Each episode highlights inspiring stories, innovative strategies, and impactful policy efforts that advance literacy, workforce development, and lifelong learning opportunities for adults across the country. Tune in each morning this week to hear how communities are coming together to elevate adult learners and strengthen economic mobility through education. And now, let's get on with the podcast.
Good morning, Rise and Shine, America. My name's Jeff Abramowitz, and this is the Rise and Shine podcast brought to you by the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. And I'm here day 2, actually, of our Rise and Shine podcast here in Washington, D.C., and we are flooding the hill. I am wearing my Dollar General glasses because it is so shiny out, despite the fact that it is cloudy here in D.C. and chance of rain. It's shiny because we're going to be shining the light on adult education on Capitol Hill today, and I'm super excited. First thing I'm going to do is take my sunglasses off because I will not be able to see anything for the rest of the podcast. I'm really excited. My name is Jeff Abramowitz. Happy to be your host for the next few days, each morning, waking up to the Rise and Shine podcast. Last night, COABE hosted 130 students, educators, administrators from all over the country in getting them ready for attacking Capitol Hill today and going up and sharing all about adult education. We'll be meeting with senators and congressmen and other people that of influence on Capitol Hill and talking to them about the importance of adult education. It's really important to understand the why. Why is adult education so important and so vital? There's so many basic statistics that just make it common sense. Look, 36 million adults lack basic literacy, numeracy, and digital skills necessary to be in today's workforce. What more do you need to say in order to show how impactful adult education can be in our country when we do it right and we're changing lives? We have a great show for you today. Really excited, and we're just got to get right to it because our first guest today is Dr. Sheryl Buchanan. She's Education Director of Evening Programs at Genesis Center. Sheryl, we want to come on camera, and good morning. We'll get you to unmute there. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. It's great to see you. Why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about Genesis Center?
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Dr. Sheryl Buchanan, and I am the Education Director of Evening Programs, like Jeff mentioned, at Genesis Center. And we are located in Providence, Rhode Island. So that tiny little state where if you're going up on the Northeast, you pass through the state before you even realize it. And what we do at Genesis Center is, I love to say, we are that little nugget that does everything. So we do not just ESL classes, we do workforce classes, and we also do citizenship, high school diploma, so we do GED, and we also, try to work and change based on the need. So our ESL class is not just around teaching individuals to speak English, but we also contextualize it where once they graduate from the program, they'll have workforce skills as well. So we have, like a medical track, and we do where we provide them with the necessary skills and information they need to go work in.
I love it. So It's amazing. It's kind of like this, it's like the Target you're going into. Like you get everything you need and then some in one place, which is awesome. We know, Cheryl, country that lack that have low literacy skills. And the thing that I find most impressive, especially about the work you do, is that, often we need to meet students where they are, especially adult learners.
Absolutely.
There are so many barriers to adults going through different programs. I was wondering if you might be able to share a little bit about what your students go through and how you help them conquer some of those challenges.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, it's quite amazing. When I'm in class, I always say to the students, you came to this country because of, you wanted better opportunity. And so I feel like I shortchange my students or shortchange the clients if we don't actually make changes and be flexible so that they are able to get the opportunity that they came for, right? So well, we have done, and one thing that COVID taught us was that education does not have to be in the classroom, right? So one of the things that we've been really flexible with, and we found that it really works, especially for the intermediate to advanced level students, we started doing hybrid and online. There's a method that we call high flex. So hybrid flexible. And what we do is one of our ESL classes, it's structured where the instructor and students, some of them are in the class while others are joining in Zoom. So, so the facilitator is teaching live students if they are working, which a lot of our students, they do work, especially during the summer session. Based on the work, we have longer daytime, so they do mandatory overtime. So they can't get to class on time. So we have that available. We do have another class that is fully online. So again, we have them join in. And what we've found is that that definitely works for the higher level students. While the lower level students, we make sure that we provide time, that is available based on their work schedule. So we offer classes in the morning, like right now from 9 to 12:30. We do have an afternoon class for those that come, do overnight shifts. So that starts at 12. And then we have the even program, which is from 6 to 8:30. And that's for those who work the traditional full day, but they still want to get some education in. Our center does have what we call the financial opportunity center within the center, so FOC for short. And just want to make sure I stick to the question. This goes to the
Hmm,
other barriers: finding
sure.
childcare, finding housing, insurance, getting assistance with finding a job. So resume, how to find a job. That office specifically helps students that do have those barriers, which are, transportation. Those
Okay.
are the biggest barriers that we found. And so we have found and we have done things or put things in place to ensure that our students are still able to live, because this is basic necessity, right? While
Mhm.
learning.
Yeah, I love it. It's not adult learners, they don't leave programs because they can't do the work. They leave programs because of life.
Right.
They have childcare and they have to afford diapers and formula and taking care of kids and housing and all those other things. Those wraparound support services are
Absolutely.
really essential. Thanks, Jackie. We have everybody chiming in on the chat, and we
Love
have
it.
Houston and Ohio and California all joining us this morning. So I love the work that you're doing. So what's the key to success? What is it that other programs should be looking at that say this is what works for us? How do you define that?
I would say having the wraparound services. So, Jack, thank you so much for mentioning having wraparound services is definitely an important key that, and I understand that not all um, centers or all programs will be able to provide that. But if we can even do collaboration with others to get that wraparound service, it will definitely help. Being flexible. So, when Genesis Center came about in the 80s, it was actually started to work with a small group of individuals that came in and they were like, we want to go to class, but they were mostly, well, they were all parents, but we cannot because, and oh, I almost forgot, if I did not mention this, I would not be able to go back to the building with my head high. But we also provide, and that's a wraparound service, we also provide our early learning center. So we have an early learning center for our little ones. We like I mentioned, we are one building, not huge, but we do have a lot. So our little kiddos, as I love to call them, they're in the lower level, and we are able to provide daycare. Is that okay to say? I'm not sure what words are
It is.
acceptable.
That's fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
But we do have a pre-K as well, so we are able to provide childcare for our students that do need childcare, right? So it's essential that we provide the wraparound service so parents can learn what, knowing that, having that peace of mind that their little ones or their basic needs are being met. And two, let's not forget that human factor. And that's that piece that I think a lot of us, sometimes we get so wrapped up in the work, we forget. We know when someone really has our back, when someone is there to truly support us. And so I feel that's one of the things that at our little center, that's what we bring. We love what we do. I have an awesome team that I work with, and they are here to change lives. We do transformational work. We believe that, what we do today will make a difference tomorrow. We preach that. And you'll find that because when you come to our building, a lot of our current employees were students. I feel a bit aged when I go into like some of the departments and I'm seeing like half of that department were actually my students, but it gives me a sense of pride to know that, the effort that we put in is definitely making a difference. So
I
that's
love
what I
it.
would say. Yeah.
I love it because it's a lot of education, but a ton of compassion and empathy. That's that you feel it when you walk into those buildings. You just feel the energy. You see the smiles on people's faces, and they come in on the good days and they come in on the bad,
Oh, yeah.
and they just make it happen. One of the greatest determinants of a child's education in their lifetime is the education of their mom and dad. And we need to recognize that, and we need to center on it and let people know that, we need to get our moms and dads smarter in this country. And we need to be super curious about, what challenges they face and how we can get them over it. What's your definition of success? When we talk about adult learners, I think there's a lot of different ways of marking success. For some, it's getting a high school diploma. Some, it's a career. Some, it's just getting to know that they more comfortable taking a test, or that they can read a book when they're at home, or a newspaper, or a menu in a restaurant. But I'm curious from your perspective, you do a lot of this work, and how do you define success?
So it depends on the hat that I'm wearing at the time you
Yeah,
asked me this question.
trick question. Okay.
So from an administrative side of it, knowing, that we have numbers that we have to show, right? From an administrative side of it, success is being able to get the numbers. So we, on an annual basis, we propose like we will be providing service to this many students, and we are looking, and usually what we look for within the organization is 80% or higher. Um, and so when we look at the numbers overall, if we can say 80% of the students were able to achieve whatever the goal is for that specific class, to us, we were successful to an extent. In my mind, that's to an extent as well, because I always want 100%. I'm one of those that, I push. But then, like you mentioned earlier in the conversation, life happens. And so for me as an administrator, if I look at the reasons, because I work with the enrollment department really closely as well. And so I'll look at why we always have, and I always stress with my facilitators, get that why for me, because I need to know why. And for me, that is a measure of success, but it also lets me know what the opportunities are. And so when I can hear and see what happened, if I see a lot of folks are not finishing the program because of work, then I'm going to change my intermediate ESL class to high flex, like what we did a few years ago, because we realized because of work, a lot of folks were not able to get in the, in the building on time. But
I love it.
right, so
Good stuff. Good stuff. I think we all need to be more curious than judgmental and just ask those questions of how we can help our students succeed. Um, Dr. Sheryl Buchanan, it's a pleasure starting our day off with you. That smile, it lights up the room.
oh,
And if we
awesome.
wanted to get more information on your program on the Genesis Center, how can we go about doing it?
I've made it super easy. My email address is my full name with the title. So Dr. Sheryl Buchanan at gmail.com. Or if you wanted to, I'm also on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, I'm Dr. B RI Learn and Strive. So Dr. B RI Learn and Strive. That's
Awesome.
where I do all, my advocacy pieces. That's where I'll share stories and stuff. So, you can always link there. And if you wanted us to have, more conversation, then we can definitely go from there.
I
Definitely a
would
pleasure.
I would also ask that you throw your information in the chat box today.
Absolutely.
It's awesome seeing you, and thank you for all the great work you're doing. Adult Education Family Literacy Week is so important, and you're the reason why you're making change happen. So we appreciate you, and I will look forward to catching up with you on the other side. And thanks for being a guest today. We're
Thanks
gonna
for the
move on.
invite.
You're welcome. Our next guest is a friend and excited to bring him on. Robert Guzman, External Affairs Director at ScaleLIT. And for those that don't know, ScaleLIT was formerly Chicago's Citywide Literacy Coalition. And I've known Robert for a bit. And I'm so grateful when I saw his name pop on and that he was going to be a guest today. I got all excited. I was like, bring it on, bud. How are you? Good to see you, Robert.
Jeff,
What's going on,
can you
Bobby?
hear me, Jeff? Is that you, Rise and Shine, Jeff?
It is rising and shining here in DC. How are you?
Good, good, good. So, greetings from Southside Chicago. Right now we're celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. It's Mexican Independence Day. So you got me on a great day, Jeff. It's 8:15 in the morning in Chicago, and I'm on 100.
I did. I love it. I love it. So I hope all our guests, we got people from all over the country listening today. I hope you'll get your coffee, bring it on. You're okay to drink on camera, no worries. It's Rise and Shine. We're here in DC. Bobby, tell me what's going on. We haven't caught up in a little bit, but it's so great to see you. How are things in Chicago? Tell us what's happening with ScaleLIT and yeah, give it to us.
Oh man, Jeff. So yes, I met you in New Orleans in like 2019 at the COABE
Yeah.
conference. I heard your thing. I remember I was like, hey, I just joined the Chicago Citywide Literacy Coalition, which is ScaleLIT, and they had this idea where they're going to put a career pathways navigator, me, in an American Job Center unemployment office in Pilsen, and I'm going to represent 13 WIOA Title II adult ed providers funded by the law.
I love
And
it.
I figured it out, Jeff. People walking through the center, they don't need to know Obama passed this law. They don't need to know what we owe a Title II and Title III and Wagner Peisner and ITAs are. They just want a job. They want a career. So, I did that for a little bit, and dude, we were able to duplicate the navigator model across 8 American job centers.
Wow, that's awesome.
That's incredible. I mean, we had them in Bronzeville, West Side, shout out to the West Side of Chicago. And we're like, wow. And this was all because of ARPA funding, philanthropy money. Really our executive director really took this on and said, hey, adult ed providers, you guys teach people GED, workforce people, you guys get jobs. We're the ones that are going to be connecting that transition. Because when I walked in there in 2018, it was like transaction. Hi, I'll help you file for unemployment. Hi, I'll help you file for SNAP, primitive housing. And I'm the one that like, hey, you were in 4 hours waiting in line just to reset your password. You want to learn computers? City College has got this digital literacy, So yeah, Jeff. So now, we received the National Skills Firebrand Award in 2020, like 3 weeks before the pandemic. That's where I met Sharon from COABE, the CEO.
Yep.
I met Sharon. I'm like, hi, Sharon. I have my White Sox jersey, remember?
I do. So you're getting all these hearts and people are loving this. From that are listening to us. I want to take a step back for a second because I think one of the things that impresses me about you, number one, is your fire. Like you got this passion for the work you do. But the truth is that, when we talk about adult education, we've often talked about it in a silo where we need to get somebody a high school diploma, we need to get them getting a post-secondary, we need to get them into some digital literacy skills. But ultimately, it's making that connection to not a job, but a career, like getting people to do the things that they love to do. And that's kind of the center of your world. So I'm curious, like, what's your philosophy and why is education so important in this journey of getting people into a career pathway?
So Jeff, I hear you on the silos, and that's why in October of 2020, a big shout out to the Chicago Cook Workforce Partnership Service Delivery Committee and Workforce Board. They saw what we were trying to do on the ground level as this kind of connector, connecting people to pathways. That's the first thing. People don't know what's out there. They don't even know how to get into clean energy and AI jobs, and that's why we're here. But really what happened is we stepped into this one-stop operator role in October of 2020. And since then, we've been in charge of workforce development service integration among partners between the unemployment office, the SNAP offices, So really, to tell you the truth, I think is that us being this neutral entity where we don't report to the state, we don't report to city colleges, we don't report, we're just here focused on the job seeker experience. That's it. That's what we've been doing. We've just been focusing on the job seeker experience. And, we're doing such a great job, Jeff. I want to share this with you. We are now the one-stop operator for Hennepin, Carver County, and Minneapolis. So we have the recipe, to make this job. But you're right, Jeff. Really, the adult education. And you know where I get my fire when I speak to adult education providers is I got my GED. And
good for you.
20-something years ago, I turned 18 years old on December 10th, and I walked into the attendance office and I signed myself out, and I went to Prairie State College, and then those beautiful people over there signed me up. They tape tested me. You know what I mean? They got tape tested me, and
I love it.
Good to go. But that's what I'm saying. There's people like me that are entering the workforce system either through unemployment, SNAP, TANF, housing, or adult education. We're all one network, Jeff.
Yeah, I think that, it takes a village, right? Like to fix some of the problems we have in our country today, and in the workforce, it takes a village. It takes everyone kind of jumping together. And our workforce systems are such an important piece of that puzzle and working together. And I remember in my prior job, one of my responsibilities was overseeing one of the career one-stops or American Job Centers in Philadelphia. And the truth is that, you didn't know the story of the person that walked in that door. Sometimes that person had a child that was waiting for them in the car outside. Sometimes, they had a sick mother or family member at home that they were caring for. Sometimes they were holding down 3 or 4 jobs just to make ends meet and trying to find their good path. For you and the people that you see, are there any success stories that ring a bell to you that get you up out of bed every day? Like, those days where you're really running slow and you're like, man, guess what? I'm just thinking about this person, and I have a few of them that get me kind of motivated every day to do the work I do. But I was wondering if you might share, a success story or two for somebody that's impacted you in the work that you do.
Oh, Jeff, my role is I'm the external affairs director at ScaleLIT. So I'm out there and about. I visit 10 American Job Centers a month. I engage with 25 adult education providers. So I visit Harper College, Daly College, and that's where I get my fire from, walking into the resource rooms. And I see people that just moved from a small town and are using our system to get into the workforce labor. And then I ask them, how'd you find out about us? Oh, you guys got my friend a job. That's why I came to Chicago. It's always, ScaleLIT has always been this innovator, this customizing themselves to the workforce system. I mean, for example, when we had 34,000 Venezuelans that arrived in Chicago in October of 2022, 2023, that's when we came up with a unified referral system. That's when we said, hey, we need to communicate really, really fast. I mean, there's 150 people that are walking into the bus. that are about to get their work permit in 120 days, 150 days. And I said, we can't wait 120 and 150 days. You know how much we can do in 100 days? We could do assessments. And then that's when we figured out that the majority of them were between 18 and 35 and were engineers, professors, welders, healthcare professionals, you know? So that's what I'm talking about, Jeff. This is the future. We have to lean on each other now more than ever to leverage capacity. Really, that's what it is. That's when we started implementing the unified referral system, no one in the network ever got an email saying, I have a client, or this is my flyer. Can you share? Nope. Now we have a learning management system called Disco.
I love it.
We use Airtable to send referrals. And then we have dashboards now. Oh, and my favorite one, customer satisfaction surveys. Oh my God. You know, they send us so much shout outs. Oh, I love Maria at the front. And I came in here to file for unemployment and I walked out with a job. This is incredible. You know, we have a 9.5 out of 10. You know, we got a 4.8 out of 5, and these are thousands of surveys, you know, Jeff. But one of the things I do want to share with you is my first ever person that I was like, I want to do this forever, was a gentleman that had just came out of Cook County Jail. You know, Cook County Jail is right down the American Job Center. You know, he came out there with his jogging pants fresh. I mean, this guy was like 50 years old, but he looked like he was 20. And he came out with his papers, and all he knew was that he could go to the unemployment office and they would help him. That's the gentleman that I was like, all right, you know, yeah, I'll get you a job. He sat in front of the computer and didn't know what to do. He had never seen one, you know?
Wow.
You know, that's the kind of stuff. And that's why I joined the COABE Google cohort.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that is awesome. I mean, please welcome AI. If you are in workforce development, please integrate artificial intelligence with yourself. I mean, dude, I took the Google Business Intelligence. I took the Google Data Analytics. I took the Google Advanced Data Analytics. This one was my favorite, the Google UX Design. I took the Google IT Support just because I was just like, I don't want to be calling IT anymore. Google Project Management, Google Digital Marketing and E-commerce. And all like
You're like a walking advertisement for Google.
Oh,
It's awesome.
I just loved it because it was free. It was through Coursera. And honestly, that's why I'm here, because a lot of this stuff, you know, just has made me a better practitioner, more confidence. That's what this has done. 42 courses later, I'm more confident than ever.
I love it, Bobby. And I think that the truth is that there's a lot of people that are similarly situated that, you know, they want to learn, they want to take some of these classes, they want to get smarter. And can you just tell us a little bit about ScaleLIT? Like if we wanted to get information on ScaleLIT, or we live in the Chicago area, like how can we get more information about the work you're doing?
You go to ScaleLIT. Okay, Jeff, when you're out there, you're like, I was hanging out with Robert Guzman, Bobby G. You got to say he's from ScaleLIT, okay?
Yeah, there you go.
It's better than Chicago Citywide Literacy Coalition. So you go to ScaleLIT.org, so like the word scale, LIT.org. Put a slash on there and put job seeker, and then you'll see our engagement with our navigators, you know? And if you guys are in Chicago, we got our big gala coming up on October 9th. You know, also please check out Level Up AJC.org. That's our campaign. That's the front door to the American Job Center system here in Chicago.
Awesome. I'm going to be out there in a few weeks. I'm definitely going to hit you up because we got to spend some time. I just want to get some of your energy. That's all. You know, I love it. When we talk about Adult Education Family Literacy Week, which is why we're here today in Washington and across the country, one of the things we talk about is advocacy. And I think you're living proof of the fact that advocacy doesn't necessarily mean going in front of a legislator or a representative. Advocacy is in the work you do every day in the community, and everywhere you go, you're talking about ScaleLIT and the work that you're doing. And that's what advocacy is all about: sharing those stories, sharing your passion, and helping people find that, you know, whatever that direction is, whatever that next step is, whether it's digital literacy or financial literacy or getting a career path. I'm just curious, you know, first, we only got a minute or two left, but I just want, if, you know, the secret sauce that you have, like, what is it that drives you to do the work you do?
Oh, brother. I mean, you know, I think it was just growing up in the hood. You had to survive, man. You had to survive. And, you know, and that's why I got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. And That's why I got my GED at 18 years old and 2 weeks, because I couldn't. There were shootings. The only thing we didn't have back then was cell phones.
Yeah.
That was it. Now the same thing that's going on right now was going on there. So honestly, Jeff, sorry, I'm getting a little emotional, but Jeff, I consider myself a Chicagoan, and if I can give people jobs so they won't have to do other things, I will, brother.
I love it.
Every day.
So we also have a good mutual friend, Michael Matos, and looking forward to catching up with both you guys when I get out in Chicago in a few weeks, but I'll hit you up. Bobby G, thank you so much for all the work you're doing. It's just incredible, passion-filled work, and thanks for being on the podcast today. I'm looking forward to catching up with you soon.
All right, Jeff, I'm gonna be in Philly at the end of October. I'll hit you up. My wife got a conference.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll have you out for dinner.
Okay, big hug, brother.
All right, thanks, Bobby. Bobby G, I love it. He's External Affairs Director at ScaleLIT in Chicago, and what a great, just you can't help but just listen to Bobby and just get energized. Our next guest on the agenda today is somebody I've been looking forward to talk to all morning. Mike Bartlett is Director of National League of Cities. Mike, how are you? Welcome to Adult Education Family Literacy Week.
I'm doing great. Good morning.
Thanks for being with us. I'm excited to have this conversation. First of all, because I've been a huge fan, and I know National League of Cities has been around since 1924, and I'm really super curious because I think it's probably one of these agencies that's doing amazing work in the country and yet often flies under the radar screen. But can you talk to us a little about the work you guys do at the National League of Cities?
I'd be delighted to. And you got it right. We actually just turned 100 last year. We had a huge party. It was very exciting. So for 101 years now, the National League of Cities has been the voice of America's more than 19,000 cities, towns, and villages. We do a lot on behalf of our members, everything from lobbying and advocacy at the federal level to a lot of direct support to cities, towns, and villages, all shapes and sizes, north, south, east, west, large, small. What our team does is we are our team for education and workforce success. And when you survey mayors like we have in our most recent State of the Cities report, the top issue that's keeping city leaders up at night is workforce development and economic development. And however you ask the question, whenever you drill down, there's this huge recognition that education and connecting people to good careers is vital for the economic vitality of cities.
It really is. So I want to just hone in on this for a second because, we're here in DC and we come to Flood the Hill every year. And I've been a big proponent at COABE of really centering a lot of the advocacy work, not just here in Washington, but getting our fellows, our safe fellows across the country active in really their cities and towns and local communities, because truthfully, that's where change happens. When you can get your mayors involved and you can start getting your local townships involved and your local school districts and your adult education providers, that's where change happens. And I'm so grateful to have an organization out there that really is representative of that piece, because I think advocacy and making change happen, especially in adult literacy, where we're seeing this great movement from the federal government into the states, and really this power of looking at states making those changes. I think even cities are going to become more and more important and hold this whole dynamic. Can you explain a little bit about your philosophy when it comes to advocacy at a city level? Like, what is it that we should be thinking about when it comes to adult literacy and that trajectory into a career pathway as we talk to our local officials that are on the ground?
Absolutely, Jeff. And let me underscore something that you noted there. And I always say all jobs are local at the end of the day. We have these federal structures, we have these state level structures, but ultimately what delivers results for community is what's happening in their neighborhood, in their communities. We always say, or, we often, when we're talking to city leaders, we know that with only a few exceptions, cities don't control schools, they don't control colleges, they don't control their workforce boards to a greater or lesser extent. but they have a critical role to play in funding and supporting workforce development and education success, convening, leveraging the kind of bully pulpit, and doing a lot of employer engagement. We think of cities in three ways, and I think as people who are listening today are thinking about what are the levers that cities have, what are the ways that cities can step in, I'm going to break it down into three buckets. First is as planners. So that is cities can set visions and goals for their communities and say, hey, for us, connecting adults to good jobs, getting them skilled is our priority, and we're going to align to that. So I'll highlight the city of Tampa as an example in Florida, which the mayor brought together about 65 community-wide organizations, schools, colleges, adult education providers, many other nonprofits, and said, we're going to identify our top priorities for our community and build a plan and actually move towards executing it. There was no law that made the city do this, right? But this was a mayor standing up and saying, I want to lead. This matters to our community. We know where the economy is going. Second, there's a lot cities can do on policy to support workers and to support education and training success. We see cities like San Antonio actually pass a tax levy to enable the funding of training programs. So they're reaching out to adults in their community and they're offering them not just training that gets them a job, but wraparound supports, access to childcare, and everything we know that propels people to upward economic mobility. And finally, cities run a lot of programs themselves, both for youth and adults. They're directly providing services to their communities via trainings. We know a lot of cities have apprenticeship programs, jobs programs, and just there's lots of different ways cities are working to engage in the broader workforce development ecosystem. And I think, as you noted, it's not very well recognized. And I think a lot of cities don't even recognize that they have the ability to kind of step up and step into this space.
Well, so what do we need to do? We're here, Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. We got a lot of people listening to us today. We're going to be replaying this. Like, what is it that we need to do in order to get cities on the ball? Like, I'm from Philadelphia, pretty big city. Like, I want to get them energized about adult education. And oftentimes in large cities, education takes a backseat to the jobs and getting people into career pathways and that kind of thing. But we have to face the reality that people are going to get better jobs if we get them smarter. So what is it that we should be thinking about as educators, as administrators, as students? How can we advocate for this kind of a change?
Yeah. I think one of I'll go down two tracks. First, I think as we're doing the case making, I think one of the core messages, and I say this all the time, is if you look at the labor market, if you look at demographics, we can't leave anybody on the sidelines. Ultimately, we're in a world where in the next 25 years, we're going to have a declining population and an aging population. We cannot afford to have folks marginally attached or not attached to the labor market. And that means we have to engage and think about the folks who have barriers or just need a little bit more support to get to where they want to go in their lives and their careers. So that's one. I think the other is cities are competitive by nature. And when you can say, hey, Philly, look across the state, look what Pittsburgh is doing around topic XYZ, that can spark some change. And so we have a lot of new resources on our website. We actually, since it's Workforce Development Month, we just released a new Workforce Development Hub on our website that pulls together all of our resources on this topic. So you can look up city examples and kind of bring those to members in your communities, whether it's council members, elected officials, or even just staff who are working on these issues to say, hey, here's an example, here's some ideas for how cities can get engaged here.
I love it. I love it. If people wanted to access that information, where would they go to?
I'll share a link, but just nlc.org. And if you just Google, National League of Cities Workforce Development, it'll be the first thing that comes up. We have a brand new kind of Workforce Development 101 primer aimed at our membership to help them just even understand, what is WIOA, what are all these federal programs? Because there's, when you're elected, they don't tell you all these things. You're going to have to figure it out if you're not already familiar.
Yeah, so that's a super good point too. I think we mentioned this last night, we're here in Washington, is remembering that, many people don't know what WIOA is, or, they don't know the acronyms,
Yeah.
so we should really be talking about basic things that connect to people. And I think education, getting a high school diploma, getting a career opportunity, those are things people can relate to. I'm curious from your perspective, the return on investment. Like if we get people smarter and we work at a city level, what is the return on investment for our communities in the work that we're doing?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to think about it. This isn't a one example. There was a national organization called the Post-Secondary Value Commission, which looked at if we closed achievement gaps in higher education and improved attainment overall, what would it save the economy? And it would add more than $1 trillion to GDP every single year. That's a lot of money. And the more we can do to move people along that pathway and help them achieve their career and life aspirations, the economic returns are incredible. But also, I think there's a really important part around kind of society and civic engagement. We have seen and heard a lot right now. We certainly see this at the federal and state level, a breakdown of social trust and cohesion. When we survey our members, more than 80% of them have had some kind of harassment or civil disengagement in the last year. So really, there is nothing more important than programs like Adult Ed that are supporting people and engaging them in a civic way and improving their ability to support themselves. So there is a dollar and cents parts to it, but there's also, this is critical for the success of our whole society.
I love it. I love it. I think the work you're doing is vital right now, especially as more and more advocacy work is being done in the communities and at the city level. And thank you so much for for all the work of really centering this for our country and getting people to recognize that change happens at a local level, and the impact that cities make, especially when it comes to adult education and getting people into careers, is super, super important. And National League of Cities is just they're setting the stage for us. They're making it easy for us to jump in to make some of this change happen. I want to thank you for being on the podcast today. It's great. We appreciate you here at COABE. We look forward to our partnership continuing to grow and really doing more and more advocacy work at a city level, so that we can help make change happen and make education a priority across our entire country. Mike, thank you so much for being with us. Give us one more time. We want to get information about National League of Cities. How can we do it?
Absolutely. Just visit nlc.org. And actually this month, Sharon wrote a blog for us. We have a really good, it's called our City Speaks blog. So if you just go to nlc.org, go to News and Insights and hit our blog, you're going to find a lot of great workforce development content this month in particular. But feel free to always reach out to any of us for any of the links and information we have.
Awesome. It is great to see you, and have a wonderful week. And again, we're going to check you out at nlc.org and get some more information there. Mike, thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you.
So next up today on our podcast, closing us out today, we have two guests, and actually we got them live today here in DC. And I'm gonna bring Jeff and Steve up. Jeff, come on up here.
Sure.
We're gonna have you sit next to me. It's gonna be nice and cozy. There we go. Jeff Arnott and Steve Harris. There we go. How are you guys?
Pretty good.
Welcome,
Great.
welcome.
Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Guess everybody can hear me okay.
I think they can. I'm actually gonna, let's see if we can take this off. How about there? Can you guys hear me? There we go. I think everybody's got us.
Okay.
Jeff, how you doing?
Hey, pretty good, sir.
So Jeff A, we became friendly when we became friendly at COABE.
Yeah.
When I first came on the board. God,
Practiced here at Capitol Hill Day, I believe.
years ago,
Yeah.
9 years ago, and we've become good friends.
Yes.
And you're a Penn grad, so wherever in your Philly, you hit me up and we go and tip a few beers. And had the pleasure of meeting Steve this morning. We're going to talk more about the work you guys are doing. But Jeff, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell about the work you're doing.
Sure. I'm Jeff Arnott. I actually did 16 years myself when it comes to adult and career education, mostly at the administrative level in 3 different counties in Florida. I'm a Florida man. From Monroe County is where I started, which is the Florida Keys. Great place to have a midlife crisis, by the way. I will say that. Also, Brevard County, which is along the Space Coast. And I know Lori Benjamin is going to be on your show here sometime this week. She took over after I left, really taking that to a whole different level. In fact, we worked with Lori over there. And then in Osceola County, which is in Central Florida, right south of Orlando. So I've had the honor of actually operating small, medium, and larger size programs. So I definitely, all the folks out there listening, I definitely know the blessings and also the challenges at all three levels. That's for sure. Also, I moved to Las Vegas. I actually started my own consulting business after I retired, and I live between Vegas and Florida. But
I want to be clear, it's just because Florida wasn't hot enough,
Yes.
you needed to move to Vegas.
Absolutely, out in the middle of the
There you
desert.
go.
I love that.
Yeah, I
Yes.
get it. I get
Yes.
it. It's always great to see you,
No, no
Jeff,
problem.
we're going to spend a day together today
Yeah.
here in DC. Steve, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So Steve Harris, I live in New Jersey. I have a diverse background. I started my career in adult education. I was actually a professor at a community college, transferred over to economic development and did a continuing education work for about 13 years, which led me into the broadband industry where I am today, working for Comcast, one of the larger providers in the industry. And then that led me to working for an engineering society and an R&D company. And then here I am today with the Learning Alliance Corporation out of Tampa, Florida, where we're transforming what we're doing, taking it to the next level. What I call 1 + 1 = 3, right? That's where we are today, and really helping people get into the industry quickly, right? And we're really pride ourselves on getting people into a job less than 90 days.
I love it.
Yeah.
So that's really the big problem is a lot of times we go to programs and they last 6 months, a year. Sometimes people, it takes them longer to get into the programs. But through a program, a credential program where you're getting a true career opportunity is really hard to do. We're here in Washington, D.C., celebrating Adult Education Family Literacy Week. And we've been talking a lot this week, and we'll talk up on the Hill today, really about the importance of education in workforce and how important it is to put those pieces together. Jeff, like you've been doing this for a long time. Give it to us. Like, why should we care? Like, why the connection?
Well, at the end of the day, when most students who come through our doors, either a GED, ESL, corrections, all the students we serve, there is a goal that they have in their mind. I've found that I can do a whole dissertation study on this. Jobs and careers is the number one thing they think about. How can they sustain their stuff? They know what's going on is probably not their best situation, but how they can make the best of themselves. That's what I've always found. And I started some IET back when it wasn't even called IET, some pre-apprenticeship programs for some of our adult ed students in Brevard County. And we had high enrollment. Kids were interested, or adults were interested, and really wanted to see if this was right for them. And I know with the Learning Alliance, and one thing I liked about them, actually, I bumped into them after I retired, actually. But anyway, they called me up to see if they could connect with adult ed programs. There was this big disconnect. I think there is still a big disconnect between industry and local programs. How can we work close together? And there's many reasons why. That's probably a 4-hour podcast there on why that happens. But one thing about it is Cesar, who's Steve's boss here, actually approached me about how we can get folks to come to work immediately. And the way the Learning Alliance is set up, of course, is it's almost like a boot camp. They come to Tampa, Florida, and go through some training. It's a registered apprenticeship program in all 50 states, and then they go back home to their home where there's broadband jobs throughout the whole country. So it doesn't matter if it's out in the sticks, it doesn't matter if it's in the big city, it does not matter where it's at. There's jobs, and that's what I like about it. I know they have locations in Tampa, and Dallas, and Seattle. So at the end, we'll tell you how to get a hold of us. But I think that's the key, just that. And Cesar is great too, and I know Steve will talk about this. How can you bring your stuff down to the level, and I don't want to say that in a mean way by any means, but how can you bring it down to the student level to where it's relevant to them and also relevant to industry as well? I know the one thing I love, they have these little games. It's like they were perfect for high school students or adult ed students. It's like the guys is putting the pipes in the back of the truck and putting the equipment in. They drive out to the site, and if they don't have all the stuff, they have to go back and get it in this virtual setting. So little tools like like that that actually expose them to the industry, and they get with industry certifications, which I think is important as well. Well,
Right.
it's one of the things you got to have. So
Yeah, so talk to me a little bit. We talk about the certifications that are out there. Everyone's trying to get certified in something, and oftentimes people take a certification for the sake of having it. But yours is really centered on the employer, focusing on what the employer's needs are.
Right.
And I think that's part of the challenge is getting employers aligned with our students and the learners so that we're teaching them exactly what they need to do to be successful in that job.
Mhm.
So how do you take that to the next level?
Yeah, so my experience, over the years, I've worked with just about every operator who's providing internet in the United States and beyond. And so one of the key things is job task analysis, or what we call JTA, looking at the job descriptions, boiling it down to the competency level. What is the skills, knowledge, and ability needed to do that job? Now, we know there's a lot of people out there that are tactile learners. They like to work with their hands. And so what we have done, we've actually analyzed 140,000 jobs with our AI skill tool, and we can actually map it down to the skill level.
I love it.
Yes.
I think skills-based hiring is the way of the future.
Mhm.
And I think we'll be looking more and more at, what do you do really good? What is it that you do well? And then trying to put that person and aligning them with the jobs that are out there.
Mhm.
How high priority are the jobs in the cable industry today?
Yeah, so through our analysis, there's an urgent need. So we follow what we call BEAD, which is an investment that the federal government is making in infrastructure and building out rural communities. We can see right now there's going to be an urgent need because people are getting this funding, but they don't have the workforce to do it, right? We also are plugged into every state broadband office, so we have insight there too. And using all our tools together, we can see what are those skill sets and how important it's going to be to have those skill sets. And then marrying or aligning, what we like to do is provide pathways to different certifications, but aligning the certifications that are most relevant and the ones that provide hands-on skills. It's not about knowledge. You need to go out and do and actually perform, right? Whether it's construction. I just say one comment on the safety side. Safety actually keeps people safe, keeps people working, and lowers healthcare costs, right? So we pride ourselves in making sure you're safe, and then you have the skills that are needed.
I love it. When you do something, that's when it hits home.
Mhm.
You could read a textbook all day long, but when you start to sit down and play with the wires and you put it all together and you start figuring out, oh, this goes with this, and I get this to work, and that's when the light bulbs go off. What's the best advice you can give to students today, Jeff? The adult learners that are looking to try to find their way in this industry.
I'll give some good advice to not only the students, but also program administrators and teachers too. I'll do all the above.
Go for it.
And it's all kind of all the same. Don't dismiss anything. Don't fear anything that's too big. Like if a company comes to you and asks to work with them, don't fear them. And the second thing is don't dismiss things like this. I mean, it's like broadband, whoever heard of it, does it meet these things? Is the certification? Just take those calls. I would always take every phone call that came to my office, or I'd call them back if I wasn't there, because there could be some benefit to our students. But to answer your question about the students themselves is find out, exactly what you want to do. And this is a good way to do it. These IETs are I would say a free area to just give it a shot and see if it's you without any backlash or anything.
So I just want to be clear too. A lot of people may not know some people may not know what an IET is, but it's this wonderful model where a math teacher teaches fractions in the same classroom as a carpentry teacher, and we put some workforce preparedness on top of it.
Yes, and also even with adult ESL, the language, and even a GED for that matter, the language of the industry brought into their own vocabulary. Because if I walked onto a construction site, there might be some terms I don't know.
Right.
And that's true with students as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
We're headed to Capitol Hill in a few minutes. As soon as this is over, we're going to go and start talking to some people. What's your message? What do you want to know?
Yeah, my message for us is we're open to partnerships. We have a urgent need, especially in telecommunications. There is a bright future in telecommunications with careers and good paying careers. So my message is around invest in adult education. There is a bright future ahead, especially when it comes around to technology and telecom.
I love it. I love it. Jeff, what are you pushing out today?
What am I pushing today? I'm pushing
They're
I'm
always pushing.
No,
something out
well,
there.
what I'm pushing today is really just the idea that students have the opportunity to gain an extra skill, like with the Learning Alliance and these integrated educational trainings, the IETs, and apprenticeships and everything. But if you want to get a hold of me and I can get you in contact with these people, it's Jeff at lot12education.com. Once again, that's Jeff, that's Jeff at lot12, the number 12 education.com. And also, if you're in Las Vegas, drop me an email. I've started my own podcast out there too on basically all education issues, and we even got a studio with the assistance of the city of Las Vegas. We're pretty pumped.
I love it. Great.
When you're out there, Jeff, definitely come by. I'll get you on.
The Learning Alliance. How will we get information on that?
mylearningalliance.com. Very
Okay.
easy. You can get our apprenticeship programs, our diploma programs, all our courses are listed there. And then what's going on in the industry? We track all the jobs for 15,000 different companies or 1,500 different companies. We track the jobs, where the jobs are, what the job titles are. So yeah, check us out, mylearningalliance.com.
Yeah, these jobs are in all 50 states and rural communities and big cities. The whole 9 yards are everywhere.
Yes.
They're
I
everywhere.
love it. Awesome. One of the things we're beginning to see that the word apprenticeships is taking on a whole different meaning now. We're starting to see a lot more federal funding coming down for apprenticeships. The thing that we should all know is that apprenticeships are wonderful. All these career pathways that we talk about in jobs are wonderful, but it starts with education. We need to make sure that people can read, they can write, they know math, that they're digitally literate, financially literate. Like those are the pieces that, in all of our conversations, when you're on Capitol Hill, you're talking to a local legislator, is to start with, if you can't read and write, you're at a distinct disadvantage to everyone else in that pool. And it starts with adult literacy. And that's the message that we want to push out across the country. It's great seeing you, Jeff.
It's always great seeing you.
Looking forward to spending some day with you and great meeting you as well, Steve. We're hoping that, a lot of the work that's being done here in Adult Literacy and Family Education Week will filter down, and that, you're going to start reaching out to places like the Learning Alliance and kind of understand, how can we find that career pathway for our students that can really help them as they navigate what's really a challenging world when it comes to career pathways and getting people back into those jobs. So looking forward to it. In the last minute or two, I just want to shout out that we're going to be here the rest of the week. So tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we'll be here at 9 o'clock. We're going to be doing, we have a whole lineup of guests all week long, and get out there and be an advocate. This week, advocacy is really easy to do. It can be as simple as talking to a neighbor, talking to a friend. It could be just reaching out to someone that that's in an employer or an adult literacy agency, or stopping down at your Career One Stop American Job Center and say, hey, we appreciate you. Let's get some literacy in here. Whatever it is, advocacy is all about doing the little things that make change happen. And I'm grateful to have the voice of COABE and being able to spread the word of the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. We have 130 people up on Capitol Hill today. Jeff and Steve are going to be joining us today up as we go and we meet with legislators across our country and talk to them about the importance of adult literacy. And I think the one thing that's common on everyone we're going to see today is they're going to agree on two things. One is we want this country smarter.
Yes.
We want people in this country to be smarter. And two is we want everyone into a successful career path.
Right.
Like those are the things that drive our country, and we're looking forward to doing that and spreading the word out. And I'm looking forward to being with everybody tomorrow on the Rise and Shine podcast. I promise I'll start us off with my coffee and my yellow glasses. We'll bring them back tomorrow. If you want to be a guest or you got a story to share, info@coabe.org. Hit us up with a story and send us what you want to be on the podcast. We'll get your story. We'll get you on air. We'll figure out how to do it. But please, we want to hear from you. We want to hear about your successes. And it's great being here today. Thank you for people all over the country, from Ohio to California to Pennsylvania. And thank you to all of our guests today. You guys were all awesome. And thanks, big shout out to Lindsay Lord, who's working behind the scenes today and who got this all going for us. So thanks, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Take care.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
You've been listening to the Rise and Shine podcast, brought to you by the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. We've been celebrating Adult Education and Family Literacy Week, and we'll do so for the next several days. We hope that you'll join us, and if you have a story you'd like to share with us, you can reach us at info@coabe.org.